Hi guys, I'm back. I had to take a little time off. Let me check these glasses because they seem, yeah. I had to just take a little time. I mean, not a terribly long time. It's been a week or so since I posted a video, but it's summer. And I have just not been finding the time to film. And then when I do have the time to film, I haven't thought about content. So I'm just struggling with that. And yeah, I'm not getting it together. But today I'm getting it together. I am. I'm getting it together. And I'm getting it together in real life too, because we've finished some things that we wanted to do, not the bookcases yet, but we have gotten some other little things completed. And it just feels like we are kind of, spending the summer getting some things done. We can't leave our house or we will die in the pit of heat, but we're getting some stuff done in here. So that's good. Here's why I am filming today because I have been thinking about what I want to read next. I'm in the middle of Krista from Books and Jams is doing catch up a thon again, and I'm in the middle of I'm almost to the end of that actually. This is the last week, and I've just been playing with some things and listening to some podcasts and anticipating some arrivals. And I realized that I have a couple of books in my life that I really believe will be five-star reads. And I haven't done a five-star prediction since I partnered with Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library in the kind of the early spring or around spring, it feels like it was. And so I thought today I would come and tell you some of the books that I think will be five stars and that I really want to prioritize sooner rather than later. So that is the gist of what I will talk about with you today. So the first one is the five-star that everyone is anticipating, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is all the rage, all the hype, and I am a person who gets swallowed up by hype. I'm not going to lie. I really, really do. And the more people talked about this, the more I felt like I had to buy it. It took a little while. It is on its way. It's been dispatched by Blackwell's. I'm hoping that it arrives any day now. I do have access to the audiobook, but I've been told that that's a more difficult read. So I'm going to wait for the physical manifestation of this book that I've been anticipating for months because I ordered it. It feels like I ordered it in May. I don't know a whole lot about this except that it's a fantasy. It has a great, I've heard the world building is great. I've heard that the world building takes a bit of time and then all of a sudden everything takes off and it lands well for most people. It is the first in a series. The second one comes out in November. So that's one reason why I want to prioritize this now, because if I like it, I'm going to want to get the second one, which I think is called Iron Flame. I think that's what it's called, Iron Flame. This one is a fantasy, not a young adult, though. I've discovered from multiple people that we should not ever think that this is a young adult read. So if you're thinking about this for your young adult, it has some content that maybe is, you just need to maybe look at it, is what I've discovered. It follows Violet, who I believe is in training to become a dragon rider. And the book is about her and about another person, another character for sure. I'm certain there are more than two, but I guess they're the two main characters. And then the dragons are also characters. It's possible that the world is a character. I just have a lot of belief that this will be a five-star read for me based on the hype. And of course, the hype worries me. Absolutely, it worries me. Another one I just heard of the other day, and there's a lot of hype on this one too. I guess I was late to the party, but this is In Memoriam by Alice Winn. I don't have a copy of this yet, and I have not ordered it yet. I'm trying to anticipate when I can read it and maybe not order it until August because my July book haul is a little high. Not gonna lie, it's a little high, and it's gonna be higher for reasons you'll discover soon. In Memoriam is set in 1914 World War I era historical fiction. It follows two young men who were at boarding school together, Henry Gaunt and, let me look at his name, Sidney Elwood. I couldn't think of his first name, Sidney Elwood. Gaunt is struggling with the war. He is half German. They are in England at this boarding school, but he's really discovering how torn he is about this. And he decides to enlist. And then Elwood joins him at the front, which really is disturbing for him because they are both in relationship of some sort with each other. I'm not sure that they are in an open relationship, but they both clearly are in love. And the love building happens, I guess, as well as the, as the atmospheric building of this setting. And their age is very young, obviously. And World War I was, World War II gets a lot more play in the in the historical fiction writing world, but World War I was no less disturbing. None of the wars that have occurred are less disturbing, but they're less written about, I think. And so for me, there's a couple of reasons why this really appeals to me. It's an LGBTQ historical fiction read, which I appreciate. It's also, wait for it, has 4.57 rating on Goodreads, and there's a lot of ratings and reviews. It is really almost as well loved, I'm discovering, as Fourth Wing, just a very different genre. And my grandfather fought in World War I, and so I would like to kind of really get into that period of time and kind of maybe step back a little from World War II and maybe even step into a couple of other wars that I have family members who served in. So for me, that is a part of it as well. But it's most anticipated, I think, for me because of the hype and because of the fact that it's an LGBTQ story, which I appreciate and have been reading more of lately than I had before. Okay, this one has been on my shelves for way too long, and I need and want and anticipate that this is going to be a great read for me. It is The Many Daughters of Afong Moy by Jamie Ford. You may remember, if you've been watching me for a while, I got this in my Once Upon a Book Club book kit for that month. And so it has the little prizes or gifts that you open along the reading way. And I have just buried this literally on a shelf in my office with all the boxes of the gifts. And it is time, it is past time for me to take this on. It is also a very interesting, look at this, the end pages of this. I mean, this is just a gorgeous, it has sprayed edges. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And I have no excuse. I've no excuse in the world. I've just not given the book the love that it deserves. I'm going to look at the flap synopsis for this book because I don't want to give the wrong names and the wrong kind of connections. So what I'm going to tell you is this story is about several generations of this family. And the first generation, the main generation, I guess, that sparks the plot is Dorothy Moy. And Dorothy is a poet, and she is struggling with some mental health issues, which she also brings forward in her poetry. Her 5-year-old daughter starts to exhibit some behavior that is reminiscent of what Dorothy has gone through. But they also both have these, I think, is what I understand, these kinds of snippets of memories that aren't theirs. And so I think the premise of this is that they are kind of holding the memories of their ancestors, the many daughters of Afong Moy. So Afong Moy is the first Chinese woman to ever set foot in America. So that's her kind of story. Faye is a nurse in China serving with the Flying Tigers. Zoe is a student in England at a famous school with no rules. And Lei King Moy is quarantined in San Francisco during a plague. And finally, Greta Moy is a tech executive with a unique dating app. So you can see that they have all of these different characters wrapped up into one. I have heard this is gorgeous. I've heard it is just as beautiful as this cover is. I've anticipated this since 2022 when I got it. So it's time. It's past time for me to decide and discover if that is a 5-star read for me. And the last one I acquired recently, and that is The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. It's also the book that that shines. I love this cover. It is a chunker. I think Fourth Wing is a chunker too, but goodness sakes, it's really hard to find a place where you can see this. Okay, so this is also fantasy, I believe, from the description. I'm just going to read it because it's easier, I think. I want to read it. I want you to hear it in a way that is meaningful and the way that it hooked me. Okay, because I think that that's what's important to me to convey to you about why this is one of my 5-star anticipated reads. So here we go. Two strangers find themselves connected by a vast and mysterious library containing many wonders and still more secrets in this powerfully moving first book in a new series from international best-selling author of Red Sister and Prince of Thorns. Neither of those have I ever heard of. The boy has lived his whole life trapped within a book-choked chamber older than empires and larger than cities. The girl has been plucked from the outskirts of civilization to be a trained librarian, studying the mysteries of the great library at the heart of her kingdom. They were never supposed to meet, but in the library, they did. Okay. Libraries, fantasy, beautiful cover. George R.R. Martin blurbed it a little. I think that this will be fantastic. I do hope that it is one of those books that you can kind of get lost in quickly and easily and stay with because it is 566 pages. But also another series. So if I like this and I like The Fourth Wing, I will really be immersed again in a series. And I also have some series that I want to finish. So that's a whole nother episode of Books, Ink, and Paper. But for today, these are my 5 anticipated reads. So we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, In Memoriam by Alice Winn, The Many Daughters of Afong Moy by Jamie Ford. I've never read anything by Jamie Ford. I've never read anything by Alice Winn or Rebecca Yarros. And The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I have also read nothing by Mark Lawrence. So I'm taking a real risk here with these anticipated reads, right? Because I know nothing about them. But I think that that's what I love the most about anticipating a 5-star read is that you have a sense for whatever reason that this is something that's going to be amazing and life-changing. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. Hope you enjoyed this today. Thanks for being patient with me. This summer might be a little rocky, but I'm going to try to get back in the groove and get into a routine where I can get some videos filmed and edited and posted. And as always, I appreciate your support, your patience, your comments. I will get to those too, I promise. I know I have a ton of them waiting for me, and that makes me a little crazy too. I appreciate all of you very much. I can't wait to hear what your anticipated 5-star reads are, or if you've read any of these as well, or are anticipating that these might be something you want to look at. And as always, happy reading. Bye.